Hi everyone, thanks for joining this webinar about speeding up your WordPress site. Definitely not one of the easiest topics. You can do a lot of things to help, but in the end, I mean, to make a truly fast site, you need some technical knowledge. Helene is joining me today to talk about a site that she is managing, which is a Swedish site that you see open on the screen here. Hi Helene.
Hi.
So site speed is incredibly important, but why is it important? Helene, any idea? Why are we working on the speed?
Uh, because you don't like, as a visitor, you want the site to load fast, otherwise you get bored and you just move on to the next one.
Yes, very much so. So what is, do you think, the most important thing there? Why does a site need to load fast? What does that really mean? What is the part of the site that needs to load fast?
I don't know, the images maybe.
Images, yes, but most importantly, you want to see pretty much right away, am I on the right page? Am I on the
Okay.
right page that actually helps me with what I'm doing? So when we're talking about speed, we're very often talking about above default. So the first thing you see when you open the page, and the rest below default, what you need to scroll for. So you need to do some work to actually see more information there. So when you're talking about site speed, you're also talking a lot about the design of a page. And your page here already, it's very clear this is a site about hair transplantation right away. And the call to action, very clear. If you want to see different prices and compare them, this is where I need to click. So this already helps with users, and you get away with that 1-2 seconds extra loading time because they see right away, okay, this is what the site is about. Site speed, is that something overall of your entire site, Helene, or is it something that is actually different page by page? What do you think?
Well, I would say it's different from page by page.
Yes, it's different. I mean, on the page level, you see a lot of differences there very often. Of course, on the overall level, you have the server that you have. I mean, which location is the server in, and all of those things that make a difference. But on a page by page basis, you very often see very, very big differences. So you need to keep that in mind, that when you're optimizing a site, it is not just the entire, I mean, you cannot just do the home page. You need to actually do every single page. So when you're doing a new page template, for example, clinic reviews, when you do the first one, try to do anything and everything you can there to make that page as fast as possible, because once you start cloning it, you will make it you'll make it a lot more difficult to make changes on all of the single pages afterwards to make them faster and make them better. So when you do a new page template, it's always very important to spend some time and figuring out what it is that you can do to optimize the site. So the first thing I think that is helpful is figuring out where can you actually test speed. And the easiest thing to do is just open it up on your own computer. What you need to do there, and that is kind of important, always use an incognito window, whether it's on mobile or computer. Always take the URL, open it in an incognito window. And this is an uncached version. So this is everything has to load because there is nothing saved anymore in my browser settings. So this is where you see some kind of real world experience. And already talking about mobile and desktop, those are two completely different experiences. You need to keep that in mind. So always check on both devices and see what's going on. There's two tools that I use very often to see how my sites are doing. And the first one of that is DT Matrix. Team metrics. What you need to do here is you can create a free account, and I would advise doing that, because when you create a free account, you can actually check the site from different locations. So in here, I can, for example, select between these locations here. If I select London, which is the closest to my target area, I will see very different results from, for example, selecting Vancouver. And the reason for that is that our servers are located in Sweden. So the closer you are to a server, the faster your results will be as well. So if you're targeting some with a site like clients in the US, it actually makes sense to either have a server there or to use some kind of CDN network, which is a content distribution network, to clone a copy of your site on a server that is closer to them. And you can, for example, use Cloudflare for that. We haven't set it up on the sites right now, but you can test with that and see how it goes. And that is something that will come a bit later. First, you can do a lot of things on the site itself and figure out what is going on there. You see that there's a lot of different options here. For example, are they using Firefox or Chrome? Do they have an ad block installed? Is there videos and things like that that you want to create? And all of those make a different impact on the site. So you can imagine a site that is very heavy on ads. If you turn on an ad blocker, then all of a sudden the page will load faster because it doesn't have to load all of those ads. And even different browsers have different experiences there. When you analyze the site, it will run through. I said, if you have an account, you don't have to wait for the queue. You right away get priority, so it will go way faster with actually checking the site. And what it does now, it just sends a bot to the site. It tries to load it and it tries to record what is all going on there. And you actually see a nice screenshot of that as well. So let's see what it comes up with. So here I get some page speed scores. They're green, so that must be pretty good. Fully loaded in 3 seconds, a page size of 1 MB and 37 requests. Let's retest it one more time, see if it makes any difference. .8 seconds, a little bit faster. And the reason for that is because part of it is still cached on the server, so it will actually load it faster. So these are the 3 things that you can control quite a bit. The number of requests is just how many files do you have. The page size is a lot about the images and things, of course, and fully loaded is a combination of these 2 things. It gives here a lot of information about different things that you can do on the page to improve it. For example, compression doesn't seem to be enabled right now. And if we enable it, we can actually get 75% reduction in how fast, how small that file is. So that definitely makes a big difference there. Just to show you, because this site, of course, it has some optimization already, and I will go through those in a minute. I just want to turn one of those plugins off and see what will change them. Where is it? Auto optimize. I'll just change that one. Whenever you're making changes to like caching plugins, and again, I will talk about that in a minute, what those do, just test the page and see if everything is still working. It is right now, it still loads normally. So how many requests did we have before, Helene? 30, right?
Yeah.
Let's see what happens now. See, 56, and right away we drop. So the only thing we changed here is one single plugin with the right settings. It makes all the difference in the world. So I'm just activating it now again. And then we will go through those plugins and see what's happening here. Just need to check since I activated it if anything happens. Still good. So the first thing you want to do is you need to make sure that your website runs on the newest version of PHP. The easiest way to see that is in the admin panel here. Check in here and in here if there's any warnings about PHP. If there is any warnings, please reach out to me or to your web hosts, because then they need to change the PHP version of your site. Especially if it's version 5 or early 6, you want to talk to them and see that they improve that. It's usually a very quick thing on the server with most of the managed WordPress hosts where you can increase it and you will see right away that it makes an effect. The second thing is always make sure that all your plugins and themes and things are updated. So we see that there's a lot of updates pending here for both themes and for plugins. Update all of those so that you always have the newest version. Make sure that when you're updating plugins or themes that you check the compatibility. So check after you made an update if the site is still working as it should. Otherwise, we have to restore a backup because you can get problems with these things quite easily on WordPress. So I'm just updating everything now. And these things, they don't make a huge effect, but they always have a bit of effect on how the site performs. So these we will have updated. I will update the theme as well. So this is really anytime you log into the site, check and make sure that if you have any plugins like pending, that you update those, or theme updates that you fix those. because it just is both a security risk and it also affects the speed of your site negatively. So let's go through those. This one will take a while, I guess. Okay, waiting with that one. Second is for the themes that you have installed. Where are my themes? This is in Swedish, but I guess most of you should know WordPress by now. The only themes that you want to have installed is a backup theme, which is the latest standard WordPress theme. In this case, it's 2020. So every year WordPress is bringing out a new theme. Make sure that you always have the newest one as a backup theme installed on your server in case something goes wrong, that you can revert to that one, plus the actual theme that you're using. And in this case, we're using a child theme as well. So you need to have the child theme too, so that you can make changes on the theme there. Those are the only 2 or 3, in this case, themes that you want to have installed. Any other themes, open up the details and delete them because they just take up space that is totally unnecessary. So this one is good here already. Second is the same with the plugins. Any plugins that you're not using, deactivate them and delete them. So here we have one plugin that is not used right now. So just delete them, make sure that they don't take up space. It's just totally unnecessary. And any other plugins that you're using that are not really necessary, delete them, don't use them. There's no need to have them on the site and take up extra space and to take up extra loading time. So this one is good here. All these plugins that we have here, we use. Then there's a couple of plugins that we can use that make life a whole lot easier. The first one I always use is Auto Optimize. This plugin is free. You can use it for free. And what it does, it is combining all of the different files on a site and making it load faster. So we saw it here already. Right now we have 56 requests and 2 MB page size. The only thing that has changed now is we have installed that Auto Optimize and plugin and we activated it again. You will see that the numbers all of a sudden go down quite a bit, and you see that also the page speed goes up a lot in the ratings too. So it's a very, very helpful plugin to have. Make sure you have that one installed so that things go as fast as possible. The settings for this Auto Optimize plugin, they're hidden away here under settings. Go to Auto Optimize. Make sure you have JavaScript, CSS, and HTML all activated, and save it and clear the cache so that everything there is good. Second one that I always install is WP Super Cache. This is just a caching plugin. This is mostly helpful for people who come back to the site repeatedly. Let me just change the language of the site to English real quick, then it's probably easier for everyone to see afterwards as well. So WP Super Cache we have here. Caching is turned on, so that is good. Make sure you test your cache as well. You see, this one is working. It's sent it to non-secure now since we have HTTPS. I just checked that as well. So make sure that the cache is working. This is mostly for returning visitors, but it is important to just have it on there. There's a lot of other parameters here. I would not change any of these really. So one of the big things here that is important is that most of the caching plugins, they're disabled for logged in visitors. So that if you do changes on your site, you will be able to see them. But unless you clear the cache, new visitors will not see them right away. So you have to clean your cache in case that happens. So I will show you how to do that in a minute. The third plugin that I always use is Asset Cleanup, which is also here in the settings and installed. So the way you install this one is read through all of this and go to site-wide command unloads. I already did it on this site here. There's a ton of different WordPress settings that are very helpful to make WordPress extremely customizable. But if you don't use them, they actually make your site quite a bit slower. For example, emojis. On our sites, we actually never use emojis, so you can turn them off, you can offload them. Dashicon toolbar, Gutenberg we're not using because we use Elementor on the page. jQuery, which is just for old plugins and things like that, or comments. Since we don't use any of these on the site, you can just turn all of them on and offload them so that we don't have to load any of these things. You see, for example, for Gutenberg, it is one CSS file that is 52 kilobytes that we don't have to load anymore. It's just going to go away. We don't show it. So these are the basic things that you can do that will help a lot already speeding up the site. And that doesn't cost you any time and effort, really. It's just setting the settings here. The fourth plugin that I use quite a bit right now is, what's the name of it? I have it here somewhere. It's Imagify. You can create a free account in this plugin. So you need an email address for that. And basically what it does, it compresses your images, makes them smaller so that they load faster. The quality of the images goes down a little bit, but usually it's still completely sufficient. Make sure you select auto optimize on images upload. And the best to do this is when you start building a new WordPress site and not after the fact, because then you have to do some extra work, and to also create web versions of the image. And that we also displays those on the site. So I'm setting that now as well.
So if I do that after I built and it's compressing too much and the images get ugly, there is no other way than to restore. There's no.
No, you can the images are always stored. So I already went now. I went to save and go to bulk optimizer. Let's see if it's still correct. Yes. So you can go to bulk optimizer after the fact, and here it will show you what is actually going on with all your images. So here we have still a lot of space credit left. There is no unoptimized images. A couple are optimized, and there's a lot of images that have errors. So we can actually go through the library and see what is wrong with all those images. And we can just re-optimize all of those. So let's do that. And this usually takes quite a while, so I'm not going to keep it running now. You need to keep this tab open. You cannot go anywhere else for it to run. But what it does is it goes through all the images and it starts to make a smaller version and also a web version of it that will actually make the site load faster. So you see only with a couple of images we did already, instead of 2.9 MB, it's 1.6 MB, which makes it a lot smaller. So that is helpful to keep in mind and to use there. I'm not going to run through this. I will let you do that yourself, Helene, afterwards. But these are 4 plugins that I use a lot. Then after all of these are really the basics that you need on every new site that you're building. And after that, you get into a bit the pages itself. So I'm leaving this one to do later. On the page itself, really check, do you need all the images and what kind of images do you need there? There's a huge difference between using Wi-Fi, which is very, very fast, or using 3G, 4G, or 5G on your phone, which is usually still a lot slower than Wi-Fi. So an image on mobile will affect the speeds very, very much more than, for example, on a desktop version. And the easiest way to see that is to use this page speed insights from Google. And if you stick the website in there, you see that they always first show the mobile version results. Loading, loading. So here we have the mobile results, which is 41, and the desktop results, which is 87. Same as here, they show some initial details about what you can do to actually improve the page. Some of those are quite technical, so I mean, you need to read some documentation and see what you can actually do about that exactly. So you see here already save in next gen format. That's what we just did. We just didn't finish the bulk completion, but it will save off 0.3 seconds of our loading time. And our loading time right now is, what's the full time to interactive? 8.2 seconds, quite a lot, but it will make it a whole lot faster. The reason that mobile is so much slower than desktop is because right now we have a very big image here on the background, for example, that you can barely see because it's completely overlaid with this text box here. So on mobile, just taking away this big image here and making it a white background, desktop you can leave it, no problem, but on mobile, taking it away, it will make the site a whole lot faster right away already. So those are very small things that you can do. Just hiding an image on mobile will make it load faster altogether. When you use images on a site, of course, for images that are that don't need a transparent background and that don't have a lot of detail, always use a JPEG image instead of PNG. and make sure that your images are not very, very big in size. Very often if you use, if you buy images from the internet, they come in incredibly big sizes. I mean, 3,000, 4,000 pixels, which you really, really don't need. So scale them down a lot before you upload them. It will make a huge difference in how fast the site is loading, and it doesn't make any difference for you because you don't actually need a big image. So this image here originally was, I mean, twice my screen, but since I only needed very, very small, I downsized it on my computer before I uploaded it, and it will make a huge difference here while you put it in. Does that make sense, Elaine?
It makes sense.
Okay. There is other stuff as well that makes a difference. So of course, how long a page is. Text is fairly easy to load, but if you have complicated things like columns, like hidden, like fancy WordPress, interactive boxes and things like that, those are way, way more difficult to load for a browser. They take way longer to upload. So really see if it actually makes a difference for the user, if it is really necessary or not. And very often the answer is no. So try to keep in mind, I mean, anything that you do on the site, does it really add value? So for example, here we have all these icons that are standing out. These icons will take a bit extra to load. Are they really necessary, yes or no? And you have to take a decision in that, and you have to try with that and see what works there. And this is how you can make every single page faster. This, of course, is just a home page, but once you start talking about actual review pages or something like that, pages that you will clone over and over and over again, you have to start seeing, I mean, this image here, is it really an added value, or is it just because we want to have an image there and we think it looks good? On desktop, I feel, yes, we need to fill it up, but on mobile, we can probably leave that image away altogether because it's not going to add any value. The images, they're pretty static. I mean, it's just an image of Istanbul here. It's not going to make any difference for anyone really. So instead of using an image here, we can probably use something that is way, way lighter. What else then? So the mobile and the desktop experience, they're very, very different. I mean, you need to play with that a lot. Most of the traffic on these websites and on any website on the internet really comes from mobile. So it's really wrong to build a website from your desktop. You should actually build it from your mobile phone and see what that experience is like. Traffic numbers, you can see it in analytics, but usually it's 80% desktop, 20%, 80% mobile, 20% desktop. I mean, you're building a site and checking it for 20% of the users. It doesn't really make sense. So these numbers here, they're pretty good, almost, I mean, in the green. Mobile still very terrible, and it is because, I mean, this image here, for example, unnecessary. It's really not needed. We can just leave it away, nothing to load then. It will make it go faster. Once you start getting some traffic on the site, you will also start seeing some more real details from actual users. So if I look at hairline transplantation Turkey.com, which is one of our sites, loading, loading, loading. Oops. Hairline transplantation Turkey.com. Ah, that goes faster. What am I doing wrong now? Transplant Turkey, of course. I don't know the name to our own sites anymore. Almost weekend.
This I should do for all the sub pages also. It's not analyzing the whole website.
No, it's only looking at the actual page that it is loading. It's not looking at all the pages altogether. Okay. So what you see on this website here on desktop, you see there is no field data available. On mobile, there's actual real user data over the last 30 days. So once your site actually starts generating a certain amount of traffic, Google will actually share with you the details from people that use the Chrome browser or that have their Gmail logged in or things like that, and show you that real data of how it is for those people, the experience of the site. And they really look at 3 different things there, the core web vitals, as they call it. And those are not only about speed, but they're also about the interaction with the website. So one of the things that, for example, is important there is, do buttons move? I mean, are they changing in different areas, or in different places? Are they all clear to use? There's a lot of information that you can find if you click on the links. No, I have here a good one. I saw a nice one with, what is it? This one. So here, for example, you see different things of what it is that you need to do and how you should improve things like cumulative layout shift and things like that. Even if the information is not available, I would start reading through these things and see what is all going on. But here you are going to go into some pretty advanced technical things. Everything is pretty well explained. So keep that in mind and try to see if you can actually find things here to improve all your pages, especially when you're building pages like the clinic pages, where you will duplicate them a lot of times over and actually keep using them. If you have to do changes after the fact there, it becomes really, really complicated. Elaine, what do you think?
Yeah, it's, this is all new to me, but it's very interesting.
Okay. What do you think is the biggest takeaway so far?
Sorry,
Plugins, I guess. There's some easy plugins you can use. So one of the things we always use Elementor as a page builder, and also between different page builders, there's a huge difference. So Hairline Transplant Turkey doesn't use Elementor, it uses another page builder. And some of the page builders, they add a lot of extra unnecessary code that is not really needed. One of the things you can do with Elementor, which is kind of helpful at times, is when you're trying a lot with different and new pages, just go into the Elementor tools, and here you can regenerate the CSS files. So it tries to take away all the unnecessary CSS and replace it with the latest version, so that it doesn't have to load all kinds of old things all the time, which is kind of helpful to use. Just make sure you check the page afterwards to see that nothing has broken when you do that. So it's with all of the caches when you clean them. The only time you really need to clean a cache is if you do a very big change to the site and you want it to be reflected to the users right away. So when you do that, click delete cache. Also delete the other cache if you have any. And just open the page in a new tab to see if everything is still as it was before. Always use incognito window for that, and check it on your mobile as well. So here we see everything is still looks in the right place, but sometimes you see that everything has shifted over, or the logo is huge or something like that. The only thing you have to do then is just go into the page and save it again. Then it will overwrite the cache and everything will be normal. So you can just do edit page and click save. And then everything will be back to normal again. But make sure you check that, because there won't be any warnings or things like that. Anything else I'm forgetting or that I need to talk about right now? No, we had here something where it says it wasn't cached. Enable compression. We didn't have that. Why? Let's see if we can also install a plugin for that. Maybe it just didn't catch it. I thought we had all of this turned on, but oops, this one. This we have. So there's a lot of different settings here. I mean, play with those, go through them and see what happens when you use different ones like that. and see what the effects are. Usually it will make a difference right away, so you can actually like see if it works or not. But the biggest thing you can do is when you're building pages, I mean, keep in mind that mobile and desktop are very different, and that on mobile you need way less images and things to start filling up pages. So take those away and you will see that it has a huge difference already. I think that's it, Helene. Do you have anything else, or?
No, no, thank
Pretty
you.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
so for you, the biggest thing is, I mean, look at your mobile pages and start doing some work with those.
Yeah.
And look through the documentation, for example, for Hairline Transplant Turkey. Look at the documentation that they have on web.dev/vitals to see what you can actually do about those key metrics and how you can improve your site based on that. And this is really an ongoing process. This is something you have to share with other people as well when you're all building sites together. So that you can share the knowledge there and actually come up with different things that work. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Good luck then, and then talk to you guys later. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.